Alright, so in this next video, we're going to begin switching to making a game that would have socketing as part of it. Socketing can be um, used for like keys or like batteries or certain objects that you need to move from one location to a very specific other location, or for like storing things on your player's um, body. This works really well for like VR, where you're like, oh, I've got a belt and I need to hook things to the belt, so you can make sockets there. Um, to do socketing, we could do it in a third-person game. It doesn't make as much sense and it gives us less control. So we're going to switch this game from a third-person game to a first-person game. So that's what we're going to do in this video. So to do that, we're going to first, obviously, we need to move our camera because it is currently behind the player. So we're going to just zero it out on its positioning. And then it's a little low. Let's go ahead and raise it up a little bit. Yeah, about there. I think that's fine. You can dial this in and play with it. That's good enough for now. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create another script for create script. Let's call this camera mouse follow. That sounds good. Let that build it for a second, and now let's open it up. Alright, and what we're going to do here is we're going to create a couple floats. We'll make them private. You can make them public if you wanted to play with them out in the editor, but I think it's perfectly fine in here. We can just come back into the script and make changes if we want to. So camera float, or private float, and we're going to call this the camera rotation speed. So how quickly the camera is going to be able to rotate around. Let's set it to 2. And then we're going to do another private float, or 2 private floats in this one. We're just going to lump them together because they make sense. Rotation X, comma, rotation Y. So that is going to provide us that. We don't need the start, so we can remove that. Or you can keep it, it doesn't hurt anything. And then in our update, we're going to go ahead and define another float. We're going to use this to get our mouse position. So we're going to mouse X, and that's going to be mouse is X is equal to input dot get access. And then we're going to do, what's going on here? I hit the wrong button. There we go. Mouse X in here. And then, surprise, surprise, we're going to do, oh my goodness, that is terrible typing. Float, mouse Y, input, get access, mouse Y. All right, and now we're going to set up our rotations like we've set up previously in the variable. So we're going to do rotation Y first. And we're going to set that equal to plus equals mouse X times camera rotation speed. So the Y rotation, so the mouse works on a 2D vector, so it's X and Y are different than the X and Y of a vector 3. And so for the Y rotation of a vector 3, or a quaternion actually at this point, we're going to be using the mouse X. And then we're going to do basically the same, just a little different. Mouse, oh my goodness, it filled in too much. Rotation X is going to be minus equals, so the plus equals mouse Y, camera rotation speed. So those are going to set up those rotations. And then we want to make it so that the player can't just like spin their head in a way that's not possible. Like, right, we can only look up to basically straight up above us, and we can only really look down to at our feet. Anything else, if we wanted to look behind us, we can't just keep rotating our head backwards more to look backwards. So we're going to go ahead and for our rotation X, let's type it right, rotation X, we're going to equal to math clamp and then the rotation X, but we're going to set it to negative 90 F and then 90 F. So that's going to lock us into looking, only being able to look in that rotation 90 degrees down, 90 degrees up. So that's going to lock it in so we just can't keep spinning, right? We can spin around us, which makes sense in our Y, but in our X, we want to limit that. So we're going to clamp that there. You can change that if you want. Maybe you think your player can't look up as high. That's perfectly fine. And so once we have that, all we're going to do is to make it happen, transform local rotation equals quaternion Euler rotation X, rotation Y, and we're not rotating anything on the Z, so we set that to 0. That's all we need. We're going to save this, Control S. Once it has finished saving, we're going to go back into Unity, and we're going to drag this now onto our main camera. And now if we save and we play, I'll make this a little bit bigger. Now I'm looking and following my mouse's movement. But, so when I move, my movement is still dependent upon the rotation, so you can kind of look and rotate in different ways, which, you know, depending upon your gameplay, maybe that's what you want, maybe that's not what you don't want. For this, I'm good with that. What I'm not good with is my gun is still just attached to that. I'd like my gun to be attached to the direction I'm looking. So let's go ahead and it should be as simple as now dragging the gun and childing it to our main camera. That should do it. Crossing my fingers, it's supposed to do it. Let's see what happens. And there we are. So now I can actually shoot. My camera or my mouse goes off, which makes it tricky. But you can see now I can shoot at different levels, directions, which makes it for a much more fun and enjoyable game, right? Now I could have enemies at different levels, shooting different things on the wall, different things like that. So now we've got this. Now we can play with socketing. I'm going to actually save that for the next video. Just want to do this. The other thing to keep in mind, right, we've got our 30 here, which is tracking our shots. When you move to a first person, you definitely are going to want to make a different UI. Right now we can't see our health bar or anything like that. All of that is easy enough to do, but I'm not going to worry about setting that up at the moment, but we will play with the UI in a bit. So we're going to end this video here, and then we'll jump into the next one where we look at socketing items.